Okay, what's up with it? It's your boy Expat D here, and today we're going to talk about the positive and negatives of going to a HBCU. Okay, so let me break this down. I'm someone that got a chance to go to an HBCU. Just to tell you a little bit about my background, I actually went there and actually got a chance to teach there. So I've seen a lot of different perspectives um, when it comes to going there. And I've seen like different sides of it, really all sides. I've seen it from someone that teaches, someone that has been a student. And a little bit about my background is I'm someone originally from the West Coast. So I've never really heard of something like that before. And all I knew is the different world, right? Like who wasn't impacted by a different world? To me, that was one of the best shows ever, ever created. So that's what influenced me to go. Um, and basically, one of the reasons why I chose to go there is because I was someone that went to school. Of course, it was really predominantly white, and I was like always the token black kid in the class. This is all the way, maybe one or two, right? And then someone was like dark, like Indian, like we'll count that too, right? Just to get our numbers up. But it always be like one or two. Like if I had more than three, it's like, whoa, right? So it's being like that from kindergarten all the way up to like 12th grade. I just got kind of annoyed by those environments. So I said, every time I looked at I remember how I ended up going there, the idea. So the idea was every time I visit a school, when I was going on different like trips, like field trips and things like that to visit colleges, and I'd look at their brochure, I kept looking at like what percentage of the student population was black, right? And I remember I was talking to somebody and he said, hey, if you're so interested in what percentage of the school is black, why don't you just go to a black college? And I was like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. Because, like on the West Coast, you don't have them. So I was like, man, that's a good idea. And funny, what ended up happening is they ended up like, really like maybe a month and a half later, they end up having like a Black History like fair. And I'm getting a bunch of scholarships to go. And I went to I got a full scholarship to go to a HBCU. So that was pretty much how I ended up, going there. Now, let me break down my pros and cons, because now that I've done it, right? I have a kid now, and he's in high school. And so I have to ask myself the question, would I send my own child to an HBCU? I've had both positive and negative experiences going there. Um, and, I'm here to be honest. I'm not trying to lose my black card. I'm not saying anything to try to offend the race, but there's some positive and negatives, and it's good that you hear this if you're someone that's interested in going. I know. So we'll start with the negatives. So number one, I'll be real with you. Some of these schools, right? Now, here's the thing about black colleges, or HBCUs, or historically black colleges and universities. Well, number one, there's tiers of them. There are bigger ones, there's smaller ones. You know what I mean? Like you have like most people have heard of like Morehouse and Spelman and Hampton and Clark, Howard, those. Then you have a lot of smaller ones also. and you know, ones that don't have a big of a name. Now, I'll tell you this, um, some of them, many of them, can have a very high school mentality. So that's one thing I noticed going there, is that there's a certain like maturity level that I saw on other campuses that I didn't see on some of the HBCU campuses. And what I mean is, it's like you'd see students basically acting just like they were in high school, just like they're in high school. And so what I mean by that is, just like, even to the way they dress. Like I'll explain this like as a student. So like, okay, let's say you go to class. A lot of other schools, when they go to class, they might just wear sweats, you know, a sweater, you know, something like that. When I was going to HBCU, now comment if it was like this at yours or not. Let me know in the comment section. When I went, man, they were dressed like they're going to the club. Some of the girls. You know, I'm like, dude, this is freaking school. Like, this is class. They were like hella overdressed, tight skirt, you know, crop top, showing this, showing that. And I was like, damn, we going to the club, we going to class, right? That's one. Even just the mentality, there's just a little bit more immaturity going on. Now, of course, you have that at every school. And then granted, I'm talking more of the small school scene, because here's the thing, okay? When you have a bigger population, you'll have more of everything. You'll have more people that are serious. You'll have more people that are not serious. You know, anything that you have going on at a school, you'll have a little bit more of everything of that when you have a bigger number. So sometimes when you have just like even when I go to like bigger colleges, universities, you know, you might see some people in like frats or on the sports team, and they're like, some of them look hella out of place, man. I'll be honest with you. They're hella out of place. They look like they're not interested at all in school, and they're just there to have party and have a good time. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist elsewhere, but I was like, I feel like I'm in high school, right? Even the way that they treated facilities, you know, like if you go to even the library, and I go to the library, I used to have to go to a different school's library because the library is too loud. Because they'd be in there, ha 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 ha, and roasting and cracking jokes and this and that, hella loud for a library. And it just wasn't a serious vibe. So I had to go somewhere else just to study. Yeah. All right, so let's continue. On to number 2. Lack of diversity. So what I mean by that is, it sounds obvious because there's only, you know, this black. You know what I mean? They still had some other, like, there's subgroups. You know, you did have some people that were like from Africa. You did have, you know, people that were like Caribbean, but just the lack of diversity. Excuse me, make sure my mic is still there. The lack of diversity had some. It could serve as a negative way also, just because you're not seeing different perspectives, and so, and it doesn't quite shadow the real world. I've seen I've seen situations where the students almost regressed because they felt like, oh, I'm here and we all black, so you're gonna hook me up, you're gonna look after me. That was kind of the mentality of some. You know, it's like they looked at it like, you're supposed to look out for me, you're supposed to accept my late work, you know, you're supposed to change my grade and give me an extension, you know, or give me an incomplete when it's supposed to be an F, because we black. We all black here, right? So that is something that I found. This is more as a instructor that I noticed that exist. That's negative, right? Those that are just checking out the video, I've got negatives and I have positives. So don't just think I'm just like hating, entirely, right? I'm just giving you some reality. Number two, number three, students can get too comfortable. So what I mean by that is too comfortable is just that, just like I was mentioning. They think that they're entitled to getting basically like, this is a safe space so that I don't have to try as hard. Some of them act like they should be they're automatically going to be given the benefit of the doubt in this environment. That part can serve negatively. And I'll tell you what. So when teaching, right, I was started with, mostly I was teaching freshmen, people that just got in. And I used to like that because I got a chance to set the tone, right? So I'm setting the tone, to raise the standard. And I would also teach some classes that were like, for juniors, seniors. And sometimes I'd see the same student that taught as a freshman. And I'm like, man, they start becoming lazy. They don't show up like when this class starts, they show up like a week late. Like basically like right before you're supposed to like drop the student, they show up, they act like turning in work at the last minute, giving me poor effort. And it's like, damn, you got into this environment and it's like you're regressing. I'm not saying every student is like this, but I did notice that there was kind of a, kind of, for some, it's kind of a regression because they just got so comfortable in the environment and they kind of looked around and they're like, if you're letting this student basically skate by with half effort, why not me too? I saw that type going on. Now, I'm not saying every single institution is like that, but you could find that. And I'll tell you what else. I've seen it as a student. Man, I've had some, I went back in the late 90s, being a student. Man, I've seen some professors, man, like the quality, man, some of the quality of work. This is one thing that inspired me when I taught there. I said, dude, I came like for an education. Some of them were like, they made the work hella easy, man. They give a test and then like give you the answer to the test the day before or the class before. They give you all the questions and go over the answers before you take it out. Like what the, you feel me? I'm like, I didn't come here for that. You know what I mean? Like I know how to study and take tests. And just some of the quality of instruction. I'm not saying every professor, right? Don't feel like I'm putting them in categories. But I've seen some that's like, Jesus Christ, man, it was a low, some of it was a low standard. Some of the classes I felt like, I feel like I could have taken it out of the 7th grade. And by the way, now that I have a son, and this is more like, this is not HBCU specific. I started having my son I had him start college in 8th grade, just because there's a lot of courses I feel like are basically you don't have to be that. As long as you do your work, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? I don't feel like a lot of them are not that sophisticated. A lot of courses, a lot of things I feel like a student can handle at a younger age. That's a different point. But back to this original point was I almost felt like the standard could have been pushed a little bit harder and this is not every class, in certain classes. And then another dynamic is that the particular school I went to, and a lot of them are like this, they don't really, this could be a positive or negative, they don't really cut, they don't really deny you entrance. You know what I mean? They'll give you a chance. But now, if you have that dynamic as an instructor, what do? If you have students that graduated uh, high school with D's, with a D, they're not on college level. Um, they might be remedial students in different subjects, and then now you have to teach them with everybody else. And then the reality of college is you're not going to flunk everybody. Yeah, right. You know, if anyone ever wants to know more about that, there's a cool documentary. It's a little bit older. It's called Declining by Degrees. And it really talks about that dynamic where you have the government, and the government gives you funding. Government gives you funding based on how many students you have. You know, how many people get financial aid, how many people are paying to go to school. So you're not just going to fail everybody. So when you have a class and some people are really low academically, you're not just going to, they sell the image like they're going to kick out everybody, right? But they're not. They're going to give you a chance, but then that may hinder your instructions. That may hinder your instructions because you got to teach everybody. You got trying to give everybody the opportunity to pass, but some people are hella low. So maybe that's why some of these instructors were giving out answers and stuff beforehand. I'm not saying every instructor, every school, I'm not saying has a standard that low, but that type of stuff exists. And I'm sure somebody in the comments is gonna be like, yeah, this school, this PWI school does this, right? I know there's a such thing as grade inflation. It's all part of the game. You know, I'm an educator. You know, I've taught higher ed for 5 years. I know the game. Know the game. All right, let's continue. Sports. Now, I didn't go to like a school that had like a big football team. But I don't know, the sports vibe was kind of like, there was kind of some haters. You know what I mean? Like they kind of had like some tight-lipped people there in the audience, like they didn't seen it all. I mean, they act like they watch Kobe Bryant every, you know, or LeBron or something like every single day. You know, like this ain't nothing. So I don't know. Like when we used to have sports games, right? I'm talking basketball. I just feel like every crowd that came to our home had a better crowd than we did, man. They're just some freaking haters, right? You know, like they weren't like they didn't have like that type of school spirit. It was more just like a hater. Like, like they think they all that. No, they didn't, right? This is the attitude. And so we'd have other schools come in, right? Like, you know, some of them were white schools and they're there, yeah, you know, go Jared, yeah, da 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 da. And I'm like, man, how they come in our home crowd and have more school spirit than we do? Now, of course, you know, some people are gonna be like, no, HBCU's banned. We got a band and marching band and all this stuff and this hype. Okay, I know this fluctuates. This will fluctuate by school. Ours wasn't like that. The one I went to wasn't like that. You might have went to another one and they got bands and stuff. Let me know in the comment section. Did you go, if you went to a HBCU or you've been there or taught there or been on the campuses, were your crowds more on some hater stuff or was it more live? Because I know that's something that fluctuates. That's just my experience. Okay, and then number 5. I'm gonna be real with you. Hey, I said what I said. It can be kind of ghetto. Some of these schools can be kind of ghetto. Okay, I'll be honest with you. Some of them, it's like, when I was going there, I honestly felt like, now I liked it, right? I kind of felt like I was living in the projects. It was like one door, one way in, one way out. You walk outside, hella people smoking on the, you know, the stoop. You know what I mean? You know, I was like, damn, this is like the projects. You know, it smelled like weed and stuff in the vent. uh, just the way they didn't really take, maybe because the facilities at that time was a little bit older, people really didn't take care of it. I felt like if they had some trash, they'd just throw it on the floor in the hallway, as opposed to, I feel like some of the schools I visited at nicer facilities, they might take a little bit better care of it, maybe because it was newer and it has a better presentation. I don't know. That's one. Check. I'm gonna hit you guys. Want to bomb? You want me to hit you with? Like I was gonna say bombshell. I'm in the Middle East. I don't want to be saying bombshell. Anyway, FU. Check this out. Okay, at the school I was at. Oh, I'm gonna hit y'all with one. I used to wonder, right? Like the staff of the school, I was like, why everybody just seems that it was something to them, right? It was something to the staff, excuse me, something to the staff that was at the school that I was like, they just all seem kind of down and out, right? Like, for example, you go to the like you go to the cafeteria, right? And you have your card, to like swipe to get your meals. They'd be like, give me that, right? Swipe it. And I was like, man, what the hell is wrong with these fools, right? And so, I remember like, there's this one woman, I guess she was one of the cleaners. She had hella tattoos, hella cold teeth. And she just like, well, like she's looking at, the boys coming by and stuff. Like, I don't know, I guess she's trying to holler. I don't know what she thought she was gonna do. She looked like a freaking Ninja Turtle, right? But I found out that this is a college. The staff, they used to get from a work release program, prison work release program. How you like that? So the cleaners, the people that work in the cafeteria, I don't know if that's changed since then, but they were from a prison work release program. So look at that element. You got kids trying to go to college, right? And then you got some of the staff coming from prison. So it was such a vibe, like, Patrick, give me your card. Yeah, line up. And I was just like, what the hell is this? Right? It was crazy. But I mean, if that's, it just gave it just like a ghetto vibe to it, right? And of course, I'm not saying every school does this, but apparently it can happen. It happened to me. Okay. All right. Let's go to the other. Let's go to the positives. Okay. I know I went hard on the negatives. There are positives. So positive number one. Okay. If you're still here, if you didn't hear the negatives of like, man, F this dude, right? If you're still here, I'm so glad we did make it to the positives. So the positives, number one is it's the confidence that you get from being around your own people. And this is very big. So being someone that's whatever, Black, African American, whatever you want to call it, right? And coming from a background of just always like the classrooms I was in, it was always like white, Asian, everything but Black, right? Just a couple people that's there as Black. When you're there in that environment, you just feel like you have that confidence. Like I said at the beginning, what first drew me there, I just got tired of I just didn't feel like I related enough to the people around me. The teachers when I was in high school and middle and elementary, the teachers, students around me, I didn't like when we were in school, like the books that they recommended. I just felt like they just didn't resonate with me. So just being around an environment that's Black, it gives you a certain level of confidence. It makes you feel like you're supposed to be there, like you're in the right place. You know what I mean? You're not an outlier. You're not a minority. So that helps. It helps being in an environment like that. That part is a great. That's one of the reasons why I live in Africa. I don't live there right now, but I've lived there before. I traveled there over the summer. I like that feeling of being around my own people. It's a power to it. Number two, um, there's a second chance vibe to, I can't speak on behalf of all of them, I know a lot of them. And that can work in a positive favor. So for example, when I came there from the West Coast, some of the people that I saw, to be honest with you, when I went, I was, compared to what I was seeing the West Coast, I was shocked that they even considered themselves as college material. I mean, I'm just like, wow. Because the ones that I saw that were like them, some of them were like ghetto, some of them is hella ignorant. I'll be honest with you. Everybody coming in is not college material. But the fact that they would give it, they have enough confidence to give it a try. That's great. And I've seen some turn it around. And I've seen some turn it around. And it just makes me think, you know, just like about maybe some of my cousins or some of my friends in high school that were just like, man, school, it ain't for me, right? Just the fact that there's an environment that they felt like they belonged to, that they can give higher education a chance. I really like that, you know. And I saw some people turn it around. So, yeah, but the fact that you can go there and really change your life, some people, I really like that about HBCUs. It's just the fact that they feel like they belong. And I'll tell you what, I feel like if they were in a different environment, they would not feel like that is for them. They would not feel like that's an environment that they're supposed to be in or that they fit in. Number three, low competition for opportunities. So I'll tell you this. Now I'm somebody that, a little bit of my background, I've set records for scholarships. That's something I did write a book on that. I've got, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 different scholarships. This is on top of getting full ride. And when I went to HBCU, I just kept getting more. It was like they had scholarships specifically designed if you went to an HBCU. And then, I'll be real, I'll put the secret out there. It was low competition. Like, I'll give you an example. I remember I had wanted to do study abroad, and I wanted to do study abroad and go to Africa. Okay, and I applied for a scholarship, right, to go. And they were giving out 3 scholarships, right? 3 people applied, or 2. It was like 2 or 3 people applied. So everybody that applied got it, right? And that's the thing. Like, when you go there, there's things that you automatically qualify for just by going there and having a GPS. You don't even have to, a GPA. You don't even have to apply for it. So, like, I got Gates Millennium Scholarship. I forget the name of the one that got me studying abroad. There's institutional scholarships that I got. I ended up getting a scholarship from NASA. I'm not even that good in math and science, but I got a scholarship from NASA, right? So it's like there's a lot of opportunities with like low competition. So that's a positive, you know, if you're going there to a HBCU. Number 4 is you have black instructors. So when you have black instructors, or professors, instructors, all that stuff, it's just, I really love that. It was rare, you know, in the K through 12 system, it's kind of a rare, particularly a black male, it's rare to have a black teacher. And just having black professors, man, shoot. And instructors, it's just great, man. Like, I feel like it's a standard you see it and you feel like, man, I could do that too, and I end up doing it. But you feel like you belong, you feel like it's your place. I like the way they taught. You know, I feel like they understood me, and that's really one of the positive things I had going there. And then number 5, just the friends that I met and the networking opportunities. That's number 5. I mean, I've definitely made friends, some friends for life going there. When I was there, man, I had opportunities to. I remember I had an opportunity to work for the Golden State Warriors. I've had opportunities to work for newspapers. I've had opportunities to work for different TV stations. It was similar to the scholarships. It was I feel like you can network easier at an HBCU because it's just like less competition, depending on the size of your school. So you could stand out a lot easier if you go there. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it here. Wow, I can't believe this has been 30 minutes. This is a topic I'm definitely really passionate about because I've worked there. I've been an undergrad, graduate school. I did it at a HBCU and I did it at PWI. I've taught there. So I have a lot of roots when it comes to HBCU. My take on it, for me, I'd recommend it depending on the person. So I'm not saying I wouldn't recommend someone to go there. It really just depends on their background, and it depends on the particular HBCU, and it depends on what they want to study. These are all things that I think are big factors. So that's my take. That was one of the best jobs of my life, as a matter of fact, being an educator, teaching at an HBCU. Oh yeah, that was definitely my favorite teaching experience, being there. They gotta break a brother off a little bit more though. I would have still been there. But anyway, that's a whole nother story that I'm sure a lot of college professors and instructors, PWI and HBCU, can relate to. But anyway, yeah, I definitely would recommend it for the right person in the right situation. I definitely would. Would I do it all over again as a student? Yeah, I would. I also went to other schools to compare, but I wouldn't trade my experience going to HBCU at all. Yeah, so that's my take. Those are the positives and negatives. I really don't hear people really explaining how it was going to an HBCU. I think there's a fear that I don't want to come across as like being anti-Black. I definitely am not. I don't want to come across as being a hater, because that's kind of like a big institution within the Black community. So, that's why if you're watching this, I just want to make sure that you're understanding my words. I'm just being honest about my critique of it, the positives and negatives. And yeah, it's a great experience. Anyway, I'm Expat D. I'm going to end it here. I hope like, share, subscribe. I'm someone that I live out of the country now. I'm an expat. So if you're interested in that type of material, if you're trying to get ahead in life, that's the type of content I do. And so I'm going to end it here. Peace, and I'm out.